Now, let's talk about Steve Spurrier, because I've had one of your former teammates, I'm sure a guy you bonded well with. You actually mentioned him, Mo Brown, on the show, and Mo is a character, and he's doing great things now, obviously, doing what he's doing in the political field and everything. But Mo is a character, for those that don't know. He's a funny guy, and and I've heard from other guys too. Steve Spurrier, like I mentioned, super tough on his wide receivers. I mean, you dropped a pass, you did not want to be in that film room with Steve Spurrier the next day. But just talk about your relationship with him, against Steve Spurrier Jr. being the wide receivers coach, and just that offensive dynamic. I mean, you guys really had it rolling, and obviously it all peaked in 2010 with Steven Garcia under center. But just talk about being a wide receiver in a Steve Spurrier offense, and just what he demands from his pass catchers.
Honestly, he was harder on Garcia than us, and the reason why is because we really made those plays. I mean, it really wasn't a lot for him to coach. He taught us some things about beating coverages or whatever, but something that I take pride in, and I'm quite sure you talk to any of those guys in 2010, we embraced bully ball. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is we weren't afraid to get in people's faces, to knock guys out, and to go across the middle of the field. A lot of people, when they think of Alshon, they think, oh, he was just a one-handed guy on the sideline. But if you go back and watch where our bread was buttered, he ran a lot of slant patterns. I ran a lot of slant patterns. We did a lot of things in the middle of the field, and that's how we was able to control defenses, to where when we went play action, everybody wanted to bite down on Marcus, and it was fair game. So, but from a standpoint, he just wanted us to be in the right spot. He didn't want us to freestyle too much, but once we earned his trust and respect, it was pretty easy going. And same thing from Spurrier Jr. He was just so excited to coach guys that were our size, because that was something he's never done before. Everyone was like Ace Sanders or Kenny McKinley. So when you have the goon squad out there just kind of, bullying linebackers and plowing through for Marcus to get those additional yards, man, that was the dynamic of our football team that's yet to be imitated. And that's something I hope they could get back to, because it really opens up so much in the pass game and the run game.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard Steve Spurrier say, and it was about wide receivers. And, I'm not calling out the guys now or, since the Spurrier era, but I just think it's so interesting because, we talk a lot about wide receivers, obviously, every single year, and it's a big-time position. But Steve Spurrier, not only – he would talk about – I remember specifically, I think he was talking about Pharaoh Cooper, just in general, but he would talk about his receivers. He wasn't just talking about them catching the ball. He said, we don't make enough 50-50 catches. We don't make enough tough catches. And kind of what you're to the point you're making about, being tough, getting in people's faces. It's like, no, Steve Spurrier, I just feel like he demanded his receivers to go make plays. I mean, there's no excuse. Like, he wants you to come down with that 50-50 ball. You should get that more often than not. Like, and that's what made the offenses so good. And, you guys' receiving core is so good. Is, I mean, it's not just that, you're getting beat off the line and your guys getting over. No. If it's a 50-50 ball, like with a guy like Alshon, yourself, Ace, they're going to come down with it. Damiere Byrd. The perfect play, I think, that summarizes that is Damiere Byrd, 2012, the Georgia game. He goes up, Bakari Rambo looks like he has the pick, and what does Byrd do? He just rips it away from him. And that's kind of what Spurrier talked about when he was talking about wide receivers and making those tough catches.
Yeah, and that's something that it can be coached, but it's really amongst a group of guys. And that was something that we did a great job of. I mean, seriously, when you had leaders like Mo Brown, Jason Barnes, Kenny McKinley, we had all these different type of personalities to help mold us. So when it was our turn, for myself and Alshon and all the DL Moore, and you just name Wesley Saunders, you name all the pass catchers, we were really about that life. Like, it didn't matter who was standing in the middle of the field. We were going to come down with the ball. We were going to scream in people's faces. And when we weren't getting the ball, we were really laying hands on those defensive backs and linebackers to where they were always paranoid. I mean, that was something that I know I took the most pride in, was cleaning people up. And that right there, it was just so much fun, because a lot of people don't know this, but Marcus Lattimore talked so much trash. We all look at Marcus like, he's, President Barack Obama, but on a football field, that guy, he's a dog. And that's what made him arguably one of the best running backs in the country, was that whenever he embraced contact, he always fell forward. So I just remember hearing those little conversations or being able to poke people in the eye or or hit people in the throat and do little stuff like that where the camera never caught. But it was just those little battles that's what gave us that edge, and that's why we were able to really do the things we did back in 2010.